Hello, Ricardo. Thank you very much for having me again in here. Today, I would like to talk about big data. So, if you could please, explain to us what exactly the term big data refers to, I would really appreciate it.
So, Camila, big data, it's really has to do with the huge amount of unstructured data that is being generated today. By whom? Well, by many, many things, such as mobile devices, for instance. Think for a moment all the videos that are uploaded into applications such as YouTube, or all the attachments that are sent in emails, or all the music that is uploaded up in the internet. So big data is really related to the huge explosion of unstructured data. And the ones that I have given is just an example of what could be big data.
So, Ricardo, where do companies store all of this data?
Oh, this is a challenge. This is indeed the challenge. Uh, IDC estimates that 100 terabytes of data stored in the year 2010 will become roughly 5.8 petabytes in the year 2020. So we are talking about 58 times growth. So think for a moment, 100 terabytes today is not a big deal. So we are talking about a gigantic growth of data that will bring a lot of challenges. And let me tell you some of them. Uh, there will be not enough power to store that data. How do you manage that data? How do you back up that data? Uh, how do you, where do you store the data? Today we have technology, SATA drives of 3 terabytes. Just think how many thousands and tens of thousands of drives that you will need to store 1 zettabyte of data. So things have to be done differently. And this is why we see technologies today uh, such as Cluster on Tap that is able today to handle single name spaces up to 57 petabytes to store this huge, huge amount of data being generated today.
So, Ricardo, is it important to keep data secure or just store the data?
Well, uh, it has to be secure. Uh, Now, the level of security in data depends on the type of data. So, for instance, you may lose a video, and it's not as important as if you lose a database. So, evidently, security it's tied to the type of data that you want to store. But in general, we can say that definitely data has to be stored in a safe environment. But not only in a safe environment. I would say data has to be stored in an environment that will be immortal. Means that the data will be there anytime you need it. So systems have to be non-stop, 24 by 7. And also data has to be stored in systems that have automation that will be very easily to provision and to manage. Because here we are talking about quantity of data not even ever imagined in size.
So, Ricardo, first the company starts seeing a lot of data and then they figure out they need to store it and then they decide how to store it? Or how is the process? Or do companies first think ahead, they see that there will be a lot of data and organizedly they start buying the capacity for data? How does it work in the real world?
Big data is already today a challenge for companies. It's a fact of life. It's here. And many, many companies have huge headaches in trying to see how to store all that explosion of unstructured data. So it's important that company finds technology where all that data will be really a propeller for the business and not a headache, because to store data costs a lot of money, and to maintain that data store also costs a lot of money. Management of data cost a lot of money.
But Ricardo, if you already have a certain platform and you see that that platform is obsolete, companies try to build on top of that, or they will make a single no investment and wipe everything off.
Well, one of the challenges that the customer have today is that most of the manufacturers, they have islands of storage. So they have a box that can grow up to a certain size, and then you have to buy another box. And so you have many, many boxes that are independent of each other, that they don't talk to each other. Companies such as NetApp, they have built on a technology called Cluster on Tap, where actually we can offer a virtualized storage environment to our customers, where we can size single namespaces that will be able to grow up to 57 petabytes. So this is really a huge value proposition for our customers, because it will give them an environment that is have infinite scalability, and also will offer immortality, so the system will be there up anytime they need it, accompanied by an intelligence way to manage it and provision the storage. And this is what it's about Cluster on Tap.
So, Ricardo, how does our organization maximize the reuse of business processes and information system components that we already have? Instead of discarding everything, do we reuse and reinvent what we already have or not?
So, data center cannot discard all the hardware that they have today. In a certain way, you have to be able to integrate all that hardware inside the solution that you will sell for big data. And actually, today that's possible within Cluster on Tap. We can build a cluster up to 24 nodes today, not only with NetApp hardware and hardware that is not from the same model, but we can also integrate heterogeneous storage system inside our cluster. So this is a way to transition our customers from a data center built of islands of storage into a virtualized environment where we integrate any hardware that they have.
And Ricardo, can you tell us a little bit about the facility that we have in RTP, where we have this wonderful data center and all the innovations that are there?
Well, yes. NetApp is a company of innovation. It has been like this for 20 years. We have built the first most efficient data center in the United States. And essentially, this is a redesign completely from scratch, going away from older beliefs. And actually, our data center operates essentially without any air conditioning, just at room temperature. By the way, we have divided the data center in sections and how we handle the flow of air, cool air and hot air. And it is actually today the most efficient data center built in our country.
Ricardo, how many critical business processes depend on IT for execution inside a company?
I would say all of them. IT is really the enabler for business. Today, the IT data center is the business. I wouldn't imagine a company being able to operate without a data center. This is why the data center has to be built in a way that is extremely efficient and immortal, because the IT data center propels the business. It's about the business.
Ricardo, what is the future? What does all these processes and big data, as it continues to grow, where are we heading in the next 5 years?
Well, that's an interesting question. I would say we are headed to new technologies on how to be more and more efficient. Inside NetApp, we are definitely prepared for that, and we are investing huge amount of millions of dollars in research and development on how to offer solutions that will be highly integrated, highly efficient, and be able to respond dynamically to this gigantic data growth.
Ricardo, thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Bye.
Bye.